Good evening and welcome. We're here this evening to provide you, those who are part of the District 4 single-member district community, with an update about the work that the district has been involved in since we went through the right-sizing process. And I'm going to provide a few very specific, details about what we're going to cover, and I'll make some introductions. But before doing that, just wanted to ask if we could all acknowledge, just have a moment of silence to acknowledge the tragedy and the losses of life and wounded individuals that happened today in Atlanta. So if we'll just take a moment of silence for that purpose. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So again, we're here this evening to share information with the community. We want to make sure that every step that we take throughout this process is something that includes input from the community. Whether you had a number of schools that closed in your single-member district or not, we still want the community to be informed and to be involved as we make decisions over an extended period of time about what's going to happen to facilities that closed, either as a result of right-sizing or a few properties that had been closed for some time. So to do that, or as part of our presentation, we're going to also provide a brief bond update. You can tell if you've visited Burbank, over the past few years, that the school has undergone a transformation that's not finished yet, so we're going to provide a brief update about the bond work. And then we're going to have an opportunity for one of the directors to provide a presentation to you about the facility repurposing panel. And that will give you an idea about what work started back in January and what work we're continuing to do throughout that process. And then we're going to reserve time for questions and answers so that you can ask questions about, what this work entails, what it looks like, what the timelines look like, and anything else that's important to you about this particular effort. Before I turn it over to our first speaker, I do want to make some introductions. I don't know if Principal Talamantes is in the room, but I do want to acknowledge her for allowing us to hold this event here. I do want to acknowledge a couple of our facility repurposing panel members, and we may have a few more that join us later, but one is Jason Mims. Mr. Mims, thank you, sir. And Alejandra Lopez, thank you. And you'll have an opportunity to hear from them a little bit later when our Director of Strategic Initiatives comes up to kind of share information about the facility repurposing process. So they'll join him and they'll certainly be involved in answering questions for you. I also want to introduce Kevin Kwiatkowski. He's going to present information to you, and again, he's Director for Strategic Initiatives. And Yvonne Little, who will come up shortly, she's our Senior Executive Director for Planning and Construction. I finally got it right, Yvonne. This is my sixth time, I thought. Before it's over with, I have to have the right title. And then we'll also be, you'll probably have an opportunity to hear from Deputy Superintendent Patty Salzman during the question and answer period. She's been instrumental in the right-sizing process. And then, of course, we're always pleased to have our superintendent here, Jaime Aquino. So thank you, Dr. Aquino, for being here as well. Are there any other facility repurposing panel members here? Okay, if not, if they join us a little bit later, we'll be happy to introduce them at that time. I think Ernest Gonzalez, also one of our directors for strategic initiatives, is going to help facilitate the Q&A section. But now I'll turn it over to someone who really needs no introduction, someone who's quite revered in this community, and someone that I'm sure you all know and value. So if you'll help me welcome our trustee from Single Member District 4, Art Valdez. Thank you, Mr. Valdez.
Thank you, Tony. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm glad to see some of you here. Thank you for being here this evening. I have served as your District 4 School Board representative for the last 11 years. I've got one more year to go. And I thank everyone for being here this evening. To bring you up to date as to what has occurred here in District 4 during right sizing. As you recall, on June 20th of last year, we on the board made a significant decision to close 15 schools due to declining enrollment and reduce the number of school buildings with low enrollments. Most importantly, we wanted to ensure that by closing these schools across the district, that we would be able to provide more equitable resources and a high quality of education for all our students, families, and communities in our district. Here in District 4, the only school that closed was Knox Early Childhood Center, which is right here off of Burbank. All childhood centers were closed across the district in order to return early childhood programs back to their home campuses. Hillcrest was a receiving school for these students, and it produced a pretty good rise in their enrollment here at Hillcrest. Lowell was also closed as a middle school because of low enrollment there. But the building remains as it will transition into a 3rd to 8th school renamed Kelly Academy at Lowell, and Kelly into a pre-K to 2 school, grade school. All other schools in the District 4 will remain as neighborhood schools. So we know that all of you have questions about the facilities that are now unoccupied. Tonight, we will let you know the process the district will follow as we look to repurpose these buildings. With your input and suggestions, we want to bring services and resources to our communities through the lease of these buildings. So tonight, we want your thoughts on the process that has been outlined to guide this important work. So thank you for being here, and we'll continue with Mrs. Little.
Thank you, Trustee Valdez. I appreciate that. So yes, my name is Yvonne Little, and I serve the district as the Senior Executive Director of Planning Construction. And thank you all for being here. And let me start off by just saying thank you to the community for entrusting us with our bond dollars to improve these schools and provide facilities like this. This is a result of Bond 2016, which we are in the process of wrapping up, but it is the last 2016 project that is still underway. We're finishing it out with the update of the auditorium and brand new baseball and softball fields, because this new building is actually sitting on top of the old baseball and softball field. So this is a whole new building for Burbank. And then we're going to finish out the renovations for Bond 2020 with the addition of new gyms and athletic facilities and all those support spaces that go into a gym, like weight rooms and locker rooms and new gym floors and all of those good things. So we're very, very excited for all the improvements that the community has bestowed with us with their bond dollars, and we very much appreciate it very much. Construction here for the 2016 project is expected to wrap up at the end of this semester, barring any major weather concerns, but we're still working towards that. And then Bond 2020 will be kicking off right after that, because we have completed the design and are ready to go out for that. So again, we look forward to seeing you at ribbon cuttings and groundbreaking ceremonies in the future. And thank you again for giving us this opportunity.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Kwiatkowski. As Tony said, I'm Director of Strategic Initiatives here at the district. And one of the things that I get the pleasure of working on is with some of your fellow citizens on what we call repurposing. Facilities repurposing is the work and the process that we're calling finding new ways to use the buildings that are no longer occupied. So those are things that, and those ways that we're finding to use them are ways that are in line with the needs and desires of the specific communities with which they're a part of. And so I'm going to walk you through what that process looks like, what we've already done, and what we're planning to do next. Trustee Valdez talked a little bit about the right sizing decision. That did result in the majority of the buildings that are on this list here and that are on the map It's a little hard to see, but you can also find this on our website, which I'll tell you about a little bit later. But all of the facilities that are under consideration through this process are listed here. You can see we have Knox and Kelly that we already talked about earlier with Trustee Valdez's recap. And so there are a total of 20, with some having been part of the right sizing decision and some having been facilities that we had closed for different reasons prior to that. So all of those buildings, to reuse them and find a different use for them, that's what we're talking about, and that's what we're going through here with this process. And so this is a visual representation of what we imagine our process to look like. There will be tweaks and improvements to it over time as we get better at this work, but this is the overview and what we imagine going through. There's a set of general steps at the beginning. There's 4 different blue dots at the beginning you can see there, or 4 different blue rectangles, excuse me. And then there's a circular part. That's a repeating cycle that will happen at either each individual facility or a group of facilities that make sense to talk about together. Sometimes they may be nearby each other physically, or like Trustee Valdez brought up that we closed all of the early childhood facilities. There may be feedback from the community that they want to use those in similar ways, either those facilities or a different group of facilities, and then it makes sense for us to walk through groups of facilities together so that we can get really good ideas and really good responses from those. So the idea in the first 4 steps is that we set up things that are common to all of the properties, all of those, that we set up a process. We're bringing in expertise that we don't have because we're educators and educator operations experts. We don't have expertise in things like real estate law and how to write a lease for a long-term use of a building like this. And so we need to bring some folks on for some help along that. And so that's what we've been doing so far. And then when we get into the cyclical part, we go into a heavier engagement with individual facilities and the communities around them, where we talk about what you want to see, what you might not want to see, how it could be used based on the setup and the physicality of that actual building and facility. And then we would do something that we call a request for proposal, where we take that idea for that specific use or that specific area, and we go out and we ask for potential partners, and we say, this is what we want to do. Now tell us how you would do that specifically and how that would look and what kind of terms you would bring to that sort of agreement that we would have. And that would be the way we would repeat that process through the different areas around the district on that map that I talked to you about. It's going to take us some time. We've done a little bit of research already. We know that this is going to be something that's going to be deliberate, that we want to get right rather than rush through. And so we don't anticipate getting through all of those by the end of this year or the end of this school year or anything. We do hope that we can get through them as fast as possible, but we're more geared towards getting it right than going fast. One thing I want to ensure, or actually 3 things I want to ensure you, is that no matter where we are in the process, no matter which buildings we're talking about, anything that's not being used for a school right now, we're going to promise you these 3 things, and we're going to keep ourselves to that. The community aspect I already started talking about. That's finding ways to reuse these buildings and facilities in ways that honor not only the mission of the district, but also the needs, desires, and wants of the community so that they're being useful in a positive way. The second thing that we're going to promise is safety. We're going to ensure that we keep these buildings safe, and that means we're going to keep until a partner is on board and operating that facility 100%. We're going to keep our cameras there. We're going to keep our police officers running around and checking out and making sure that those facilities are safe and that our other security systems are in place. And along those same lines, we're going to maintain the buildings themselves. We're not going to let the grass grow to 7 feet tall and be wild and crazy, right? We're going to keep it maintained at the right height. We're going to fix broken windows or vandalism that might happen. We really hope that it doesn't, but sometimes things do. Sometimes there's other issues. We just won't be there every day, but we will be monitoring, taking care of, and watching these facilities. But in that vein, if you do see something that's wrong, you are there probably more often, or at least nearby it, than some of our team. So give us a call. You have our police officers or our police department's phone number here, and then you also can find our facilities and operations department if you know that it's a building problem as well. So we want to ensure, and we will keep these promises, but we want to ensure that these buildings are kept up. And so at the beginning of the process, 2 slides back, I talked about the general steps. And the very first step was actually directed to us by the board in their right-sizing decision. They asked us to develop and convene a panel of citizens. And so Tony introduced Alejandra and Mr. Mims over here already. We have 15 members of that team, and they're on the next slide I'm going to show you in a second. But this is the objectives that the board gave us, that they were going to be our advisors to make sure that we were doing this the right way and in a way that honors the community and the communities that were involved in the right sizing decisions. We want them to provide specific recommendations on not just the use of the building, but how we communicate, talk to, and get feedback from the community as well. And so here's the rest of the members. If you go to our website, again, I'm going to put it up at the end here in a second, and it's on the flyers that you picked up when you came in. But if you go to this website, you can also see their pictures. So if you find them at another meeting, you'll know who they are, and you know you can talk to them about those things. You can also talk to any of us, the staff members that are helping with this process. We're really excited. They're a great group of people. They've been together since January. In December, we opened up an application process where we got about 200 or 300 people who were interested in helping with this process, and we came down to these 15 or 16 folks, and they've been working 6-hour days once a month for the last 7 months to get us to where we are, and it's just tremendous work that they've done for us. They've helped us, like I've already mentioned, on the process, but they've also helped us understand what we might need from that third-party expert when we bring them in. They helped us design the communication and this meeting that you're having right now, but also our website that you're going to go to. And they helped with some of the input on a very first temporary use idea that we had, where we were going to potentially partner with the city of San Antonio for the Tynan building until a permanent solution had been found. But they've been doing everything and more in their job description. I mentioned these meetings. We have one more, so if you have a friend or a family member who couldn't make it tonight or to any of the other ones, feel free to invite them to come tomorrow to Sam Houston. We're going to be there, same time, 6 o'clock. We're really excited to share that update with that community as well. We've gone to each of the other 7 member districts as well. And finally, I talked about our website. So you can use this QR code. It's also on that flyer that you had, or you can just remember saisd.net/repurpose. You can find the members, you can find the process, the information and slides that we have here, but you can also find a contact tab that will allow you to reach out directly to us, put your name on our list for updates, submit a question, or even submit an idea. Say, hey, I think I know what I might want to use a building in my neighborhood or a family member's neighborhood or a friend's neighborhood for, and here it is. We're capturing all of those, and we're getting ready to start bringing that back out to the community soon. So we're really excited about all the work that we've been doing, that we've already done. We wanted to ensure that you knew where we were in this process and what our expectations were moving forward. And so with that, I want to invite my panel members, Alejandra and Jason, up. We're going to jump into some questions and turn the mic over to you. We have a few members of our staff who have mics. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand and they'll come around to you. Any questions? Up here.
The question I would like to ask is, because these are schools in neighborhoods, what's going to happen on zoning? Will it be rezoned, meaning the neighborhood houses there?
So, excuse me, we're open to all ideas at this point that are something that would benefit the community. And we have learned through our research that there are potential needs for rezoning depending on what that decision is. And we would have to go through that process if and when that came up, but only if that's what the community and the district feel is the best for that community. Yes. Oh, that's a very good point, yes. The houses themselves would not be impacted, just the school property. We have another question in the back.
Good afternoon. Yesenia Gonzalez with Avance San Antonio. Just curious, I took a note on the request for proposal process. Do you anticipate what a timeline like that would be like as far as opening the request for proposal? And then also probably a two-part question. I was looking at the lease information. Would there be an opportunity to do cost sharing and partner with other organizations once, of course, the RFP is out? I'm just curious on learning a little bit more about that.
Great.
Thank you.
Very good questions. We don't have an exact time frame yet. We're hoping to go through as soon as we possibly can. But until we get that third-party expert, which is the step we're in right now, obtaining that help, until we get that and really kind of talk through how that would look and what some of the ramifications are, we won't know an exact date yet. Oh, and the second part was the third party. Oh, if you can, cost sharing, yes. So we've heard a lot of questions and ideas that would involve that. We want to make sure that we have that opportunity if it can come up, but it wouldn't be something that the district has the ability to facilitate. We would kind of open up the idea, open up the community discussion, and help connections happen so that that kind of an arrangement would, work. Again, if that fits with the needs of the community and the desires.
Thank you. Thank you.
Trustee?
On the panel meetings, how often do y'all meet? Once a month. Can anybody attend those meetings from the community, or is it just a panel?
Yeah. So the meetings are open to community members to observe, much like a board meeting. And then we have 15 members on the panel. So as you can imagine, it's a very robust conversation with every agenda item. So yes. And I'm sure there would be an opportunity, for example, if, observers wanted to ask questions, et cetera. Everyone's very chatty.
Okay.
We also have alternating meetings every other month. It's via Zoom. So the district will provide you with a access code. So you have to send your email in because they don't put it out there just in the public. But you're welcome to join us when we do our virtual meetings as well.
And where do y'all meet, in the district office or?
Yeah.
District office, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you all. Those were great questions. Keep up to date by coming to our website here that I have, or get more involved. Come to SAISD.net/advisory and find another council that might be on a different topic. We want your input on everything we're doing. And so there's a long, it's probably longer than I could even read. It's so long, but that's how much we care about your input. Please, please, please find a way to come involved, even if it's just putting your name on this list to get more updates and coming to more of these meetings. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it back to Trustee Valdez for some closing remarks. Truly appreciate y'all's time. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank everyone that's here that attended. We benefit from hearing your voices. And as this repurposing process moves forward, we hope you will continue to provide us feedback. Please bookmark the website and continue to join us as we hold meetings on the repurpose process in the future. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for being here. Thank you.